I remember very distinctly at one point I was particularly rebellious, and I was like punished corporally. I was like hit, for rebelling so much and refusing to learn. And I remember me crying and like having the tears run down the ink and like blur the characters, of which my parents took no sympathy for. They were like, "Oh, okay, so then you just need to do another one, and we're just gonna keep doing it until you just toughen up."
Hi, I'm Topaz Adizes, and I'm the founder of the Emmy Award-winning series The And. The And has been an incredible journey for the past 12 years. We've brought in over 1,250 pairs to have incredible conversations. Through this work, I've had the privilege of witnessing the bold and the beautiful and the heart-wrenching, the conversations that reveal us. And what I've learned through these incredible experiences is that life shapes us. Now I'm ready to share these learnings and reflections here with you to dive deeper. We're going to be speaking to people I find incredible. I'm going to be asking them questions that reveal their life's journey. Today, I'm sitting down with a man who has turned the art of connection into a life-saving mission, Gary Su, known to most as Sugary. In our conversation, we dive into the hard reset Sugary faced in an ICU bed this past August, where a life-threatening health crisis forced him to confront the high price of building 20,000 relationships at the expense of one, the one with himself. We explore his childhood under the regime of immigrant parenting, the meditative practice of writing 1,000 holiday cards by hand, and are left wondering what it means to truly be seen in a city of millions. This is Sugary. It's like a soul-to-soul convo. Just imagine we're taking a halftime break from life, if you will.
I love it.
We're comparing notes as souls. Like, what have you experienced in this lifetime? What have shaped you? Not so much what you've done, but what are the things that happened to you or that you happened with life? What have you learned from your experience living as a being,
Well,
And
when we first
decided
to have this conversation, there have been rather incredible developments that have occurred. So in August, I was hospitalized for acute pancreatitis with additional complication of ileus. And this is a result of a very long history of very poor lifestyle choices in service of building this community that I have built in New York City. And it was a hard stop. I mean, if you were to tell me that there was something wrong with me the night before, I wouldn't have believed you. I mean, it was really that dramatic and that sudden. But I guess it made sense if you were to look at it in a clinical sense, because in building community, I'm doing a lot of events. Most of the events take place after work. They're in the evening, and I was relentless with it. From the early years, I was doing 3 to 4 events every single day, nonstop, 7 days a week. And in that time, I amassed a network, if you will, but a great group of about 30,000 people in a relative short time span. And I have that, and that is the foundation for what I am building right now, which is the community. But the question has to be asked, at what cost? Because I almost had a bill I couldn't pay that just happened, and it was pretty intense.
What happened? What is it? You mentioned these big medical terms. What does it mean to a layman? Like, what happened?
I mean, it's a inflammation of the pancreas, pancreatitis, and ileus is an inflammation of a portion of the intestinal tract. So basically, I ended up being a ticking time bomb because nothing is getting through in either direction. And if I had waited much longer, you could have had all kinds of things happen, like rupture, sepsis, which would make it factors worse than what it was, which is already terrible enough. I wouldn't recommend it. I was 3 days in the ICU when it was truly a moment where, I hope it doesn't happen to anybody for as long as possible. But when you have a life or death situation, it really does immediately shift your appreciation of time and your mortality. These type of things come immediately into play. And I can't quite explain it other than to say that I'm much more cognizant of time than I ever have been as a result of something like this.
Well, this is huge. So let's just talk about this. What exactly happened? So were you break it down, like run me through it? Like, were you just doing your normal operation? Then when when did you get hit by this thing that all of a sudden you knew you had to go to ICU? I mean,
Yeah, so I mean, I guess you have to go a little further back. I came to the city because I wanted to work in arts and culture. That was what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how. I didn't have any connections, didn't know anybody. So I came here looking for my, I guess you would say, New York story. And I happened to have a very good fortune of discovering an artist for myself very, very early in his rise. And I just felt that he was, and still do believe that it's probably the most miraculous musician I've ever come across. And for
is it
me,
John
I bet
Baptiste?
that's correct. I bet the farm on him, and it turned out to be right. But being the representative for John, what you had to do was you had to go and speak with the community, represent him when here, create the events, show up when he himself was not around. So this ended up just being a constant thing where I developed my own sense of value and center of where I stood with my activity with John, and then with other artists that I would work with subsequently. A lot of my friends said, we love you, and we're not saying you need to stop what you're doing. However, entertainment is notoriously unstable. So we're saying that maybe you should also hang your own shingle out and let people understand a little bit more about what you do, because people are showing up for you just as much as they're showing up for artists. Now, I didn't believe that at first,
Mm.
but they were like, yeah, I mean, you're the one that's coming out and doing all these things. You're representing the artist, and people are grateful that you come up. So if you throw events, people will remember the fact that you actually showed up for their things and offer them support. And so I was like, all right, well, let's give it a shot. And so that's kind of what tore me from the arc of just traditional artist management into more of what I deign cultural curator, which is that I take in real life moments, utilizing art and culture in the broadest context to drive one goal, which is greater connection and community in the city.
That's beautiful, and like a lot of things that overlap with my own interests. And I mean, I remember I lived in New York for 18 years, and I remember when I
Mm,
first got there, I was like, how am I going to take in the city, man? There's just so much going on. I buy Time Out magazine every week, and I'd go through it, and I'd circle all the things I'd want to go to. And I realized I can't go to everything.
mm,
So then the next thing I did was I was like, well, if I can't go to everything, what I'll do instead is I'll just meet people and invite people to my home for or a home for a party. And through the conversations, I'll learn what is going on that's cool, that's worthwhile checking out, because I can't do everything. But maybe I can kind of learn by virtue of having interesting conversations with people what they're experiencing, and then kind of, by association, learn about the experiences, but also parse out what are the things I want to put my time on. Because if you go to one place, that means you're not going to another, and really want to make the most of New York City. And it sounds
yeah.
like that's what you're offering to your community, right? I mean,
Oh,
very
without a
much.
doubt. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the strength of New York is also its weakness. For all the diversity, all the activity, it can also feel very overwhelming that you don't know what to look for. And so I become a trusted voice in that. I curate. In my newsletter, every other week is an event list of curated stuff that I become my own Time Out New York. And then the every other week after that is editorial, where I offer my musings and philosophies and thoughts on my own experiences, which I am very excited to share because I have never had a problem being vulnerable.
Mm. So, how long ago did you start Sugary?
So as far as the business, about 3 years, but I started
Uh,
working with John right around, I don't know, I would say 2012 ish. And
mhm.
then I went with him until about 2015, worked with a few other artists after that, and then started more and more coming into my own in terms of just doing events. But as my business partner DK would said, this is all well and good, but it feels like a serious hobby. You need to be able to find a way to scale and make this thing sustainable. If you're going to actually have a business, if you're going to actually be able to do this full time, you need to be able to do that. And he came into my life through a mutual friend who wanted to get him kind of like read into New York City very quick, because he came from the Bay Area. And he was just, in a way, just completely flabbergasted by how many events I attended, B, how many people I seemingly knew, and C, why I wasn't doing anything with it. and I was very sheepish to do something with it because all of these connections that I had made in the best intent of wanting to actually just meet the person. I had no agenda. I wasn't trying to get anything from them. I was just excited about it and wanted to desperately hold on to any kind of connection that I was privileged enough to come across.
So then how are you walking this line now between, because very much is clear your intention and you put on your side, like this is not a transactional exchange. These are more deep value exchanges or relationships, like in-depth conversations. How are you balancing that out? Is the intention and the space you create with that of having to make it, what you said, like a business?
Well, so I guess it starts with the very first watershed moment that I had. So
Mm.
DK was the one that convinced me to do this newsletter. I had images of spam throwing through my head. I was like, I don't really want to do that. He was like, listen, I'm not saying that you have to do it in terms of like forcing people to sign up for your newsletter, but why don't you just put it out there? Why don't you just say, I'm thinking about starting a newsletter. What do you think?
But it's more than a
That's
newsletter, right? You also have a community. I mean, you have a membership
Oh yeah,
community,
yeah.
and you have events
But the
that you guys are
community was
throwing.
based off the newsletter first.
I
That
see.
came first. And so like that first major moment was when I sent it out to 30,000 folks and 20,000 people came back and said yes.
Right.
And that to me was indicator that maybe what I had to say was in fact welcome. And then it was from there that we were able to like really build into the community, have the events, serve all the readers that were kind of like coming in and out, and growing the brand that way.
Anything with scale,
Yeah.
anything means like by virtue of numbers, it becomes more transactional, right?
Yes.
Like how do you, so it's like a challenge. Like sometimes when like I go to an incredible retreat or like a fellowship where they have this incredible onboarding, but
Mm,
they know that they're about to welcome X number of fellows or X number of subscribers or X number of community members. It's like, then you got to go slower. Instead of going
mm.
faster, you got to make that, if it's more people, instead of, you got to go slower so that we can reach that level of depth. Do you find like, do you find that like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're building a business and a brand now in which you're trying to find more people of your community, but there is
Yeah.
that kind of like tension, right? Between growing and becoming more superficial. So
Yeah.
you feel
Um,
that sometimes? I mean,
without a doubt. I guess what I've always assured DK when this kind of came about is like the events that we do, they're not meant for massive scale, and we will do quality events that really get people sort of engaged in our narrative and our values and things of this nature. Our membership, though we charge, which in and of itself was a very big first step for me, is a very, very affordable kind of charge. And we always try to deliver and make sure that people feel taken care of. And I guess the second watershed moment was this is now in its third year, about to head into its third year. But after the second year, when there were renewals, we had about 80% of folks renew, which was a great sign that they felt
they're
we were
getting
actually
value.
providing something beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. But the first watershed moment you mentioned is that you
Yeah.
sent out the email
Yeah,
and you got
exactly.
20,000. Okay. Let's go back to that moment for a sec. Why was that a watershed moment? Like, why were you surprised?
Yeah.
Why was one version of you surprised while the other version
Well,
of you knew that that's totally possible?
I mean, I had never tried it before. And I always had in the back of my mind that sure, I connected with these people, but a lot of these people I had not really spoken with, and I like to think that they had a good impression of me, but I don't really know. And I was always very hesitant to sort of pull the trigger on anything that sort of felt in any way self-aggrandizing or things of this nature. So DK was the impetus to sort of help me get out of my own head that way and be like,
Mm-hmm.
well, look, just try it, see what happens. And that see what happens really opened a lot of very interesting doors, possibilities I'd never even considered before.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes the artist doesn't know the value of the art they make,
Yeah.
because if they did, they wouldn't be able to make it in some way.
Yeah.
Because when you go and you're creating value for people in the events you create, you're not thinking about what you're getting in exchange. You're probably thinking, are they having a great time? How do I offer them more value? right? And then
Yep.
it takes someone like from the outside, a friend or a colleague or someone to reflect back the value. And you're like, well, I don't see that. That goes without saying, right? I mean, have you felt
Yeah.
is that the journey that you've been on now with DK for the last 3 years? I mean,
Yeah, it's been very revelatory in the sense that as I go more into this and then I have more events and then I get accosted by people just in my daily life that let me know that I don't even realize are reading the newsletter and tell me how amazing the newsletter is and how much they appreciate the vulnerability and the openness to it. I'm so grateful that I get to have the privilege to do this, and I'm very grateful to DK for pushing me off the ledge, so to speak, and just start swimming.
well, how old are you now? How many physical
I'm
years?
47.
So 47. So you kind of started this at 44 and you're feeling like you said it's a revelatory kind of experience for you because you're seeing the value you're putting out there, which you love. And then you see that it has impact on people in their life because they're telling you that. I know for me in my life, in my work, I'm 49, like, oh, like now I'm actually more comfortable in my skin in some way. Or like I have enough awards in the trophy case where it's like, I don't feel like I need to prove as much as like I just need to be as much.
Well, for me, what I would say is that it's an ongoing process, and it's going to be a longer process for me. I grew up under a brutal regime called Asian parenting, and so compliments and confidence building and self-esteem were really not part of the equation. There was a very fixed kind of way to go about doing things. You got your degree, you got a job, you got married, you had kids, you aimed to have property, and then that was kind of like your life. I never really resonated with that. It never really seemed to be the thing that made my heart sing or made me feel excited. So I very early on kind of deviated from that. And my parents were very kind of upset, and they've never really gotten over it. They still, to this day, I'll call them and they'll be like, it's never too late. You can still
to get a
go get.
job, be a
Yeah,
lawyer, be a doctor.
maybe you should go back to school and all these type of things. So it's I if you can imagine, for me in my entire life, it's never been something where I have ever felt that I've been necessarily on the right path as prescribed by my parents. It feels good to me, but until I build this thing into what I believe the potential of this can actually realize into, I am stuck with the notion that I am really doing this out of pocket, and it's a very unorthodox thing for my parents to receive, and then consequently for me to necessarily feel like I've accomplished great things. It's just something that I need to reinforce with myself.
Thank you for sharing that. There's a lot to unpack there. Question:
Yeah.
what number are you? How many siblings do you have, if any? And what number are you?
0. Goose egg.
So you're the only child.
Yeah.
Even
On
more
top of that.
pressure. Even more
Yeah.
pressure.
Absolutely.
And you're also the male, so it's like you're continuing the.
Yeah.
Is that also in Asian culture where like the male continues the last name?
Very much so. Very much so.
Wow. So your parents, okay, and you grew up in Poughkeepsie? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah. Beautifully boring. It was an IBM town. At age 7, my father and so many people around the world, it would be like what Ford was to Detroit. IBM started hiring everybody, and my dad was caught in that, and he did really well for himself. But ultimately, they decided once they were done and retired that they wanted to retire in Taiwan because they had more infrastructure. The dollar went further, and heaven forbid there were any illnesses or anything like that, it wouldn't clean them out outright, unlike here, which is just impossible.
Are they from Taiwan?
They are originally from Taiwan, yeah. But now they are retired there.
Were you born here or were you born in Taiwan?
I was born in Texas.
You were born in Texas?
Yeah.
But your parents immigrated from Taiwan to the States, and then you were born.
Yes.
And then you were in Poughkeepsie when your dad was a parent, right? Did your mom work or did your dad work?
Yeah, my dad worked at IBM, and my mom was sort of in the banking system as like loan officers and loan managers, sort of like middle management stuff.
And what's your mother tongue?
Chinese, Mandarin.
Mandarin.
Yeah.
So what was the moment when you realized growing up under, you said, the regime, where like when was a moment where you felt the bump against like the expectation of the path you're supposed to go? And when did you feel a moment of like what you were attracted to pursue?
Yeah, there were a few moments actually. One the most amazing moment that I remember is that, you know, Chinese is rote memory a lot of times when you're learning. So like,
Wait, it's
in
what?
addition
It's
to my
what?
rote memory, you just have to brute force memorize a lot of the characters like when
Uh-huh.
you're young so that you can get it, because to learn to read, write, and speak is quite the challenge. It's already hard enough to speak and do the pronunciation, but I can read, write, and speak it. So it's a credit to my parents, but it was very brutal in terms of how I went about learning it. The first moment for me that felt very different from all of my, I guess, white kind of like suburb neighbors and kids is that I couldn't go out to play. I just couldn't. I mean, they had homework like I did, but somehow I always had more homework, and I always, and I always had to learn Chinese and memorize Chinese, and I remember very distinctly at one point I was particularly rebellious, and I was like punished corporally. I was like hit, for rebelling so much and
Hmm.
refusing to learn. And I remember me crying and like having the tears run down the ink and like
Uh-huh.
blur the characters, of
Hmm.
which my parents took no sympathy for. They were like, "Oh, okay, so then you just need to do another one, and we're just gonna keep doing it until you just toughen up and get it done, and that's just what it is. And we will wait until the sun comes up. It doesn't matter. You just need to get it done. There are no options." So
Wow.
I that was one moment. Another very real moment was, at some point, as would be in any, I guess, hetero sexual guy's life, you start getting interested in girls. And I was never really allowed to socialize. And so I wanted to be more with girls, but I didn't really know how to. I was never allowed to figure these things out. And I could see my other friends managing that part a lot better. And I just felt like this awkward dude that just kept on staying home doing extra homework. And then during prom there was this really beautiful girl that I actually got to take to the prom, but I didn't really know what to do with it. Like I was awkward. I did the high school shuffle, and I was like, man, I know that there's a world that's better than this. I've seen the MTV, the grind back then there was, and I was like, there's gotta be something better. This sucks so bad. This is a moment that I'm just failing to meet. When I was in college, before I even found out what coursework I had, I needed to adjust that. So I found an advertisement for ballroom dancing. I was like, this is guaranteed that I'll be dancing with a girl, and I can figure this out. And really, dance ends up being my gateway to arts and culture, because it was at that point and with geographical distance from my parents that I could really explore these type of things. And it turns out that I was actually decent at dancing, to the point where I
Mm.
started teaching, and I founded the ballroom dance competition for the university, Binghamton University, that I went to, that still exists today.
Wow.
And this allowed my not only my socialization skills to improve, but it allowed my personality to blossom. I felt this great weight lifted on my shoulders. I will tell you, the thing that I learned most during that time had nothing to do with any of the classes that I took. It was all
Mm.
the time that I spent in the fine arts building, learning to dance, teaching other people to dance, going out as a result of feeling braver to be more social and going to parties and meeting people. So that was sort of like the genesis of really all of this. So I have to thank dance for getting me into music, which consequently then got me into just arts and culture in general.
In your life experience, do you feel your father and then your mom, separate or same event, were both proudest of you? When do you feel in your lifetime they've been the proudest of you? Like, do you have a memory of when one of them or
Yeah,
both?
I think the proudest moment that my mother had was when I graduated the university, which seems to be a very popular immigrant story.
Mm.
And I gotta say, I was terrible during that time, because like I still resented my parents and my mother, even though I had moments to expand. And you know, I'm not proud of it, but even when like they were giving me my diploma, like I didn't want to take a picture with my mom. I almost in a way felt like I wanted to take it away from her, because like she had made my life objectively so miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And I do
Mm-hmm.
regret that, because like this, in her mind, this was the best that she could do, and I wasn't willing to entertain it even for a photo.
Dude, it's so many similarities in the sense that like
Of course,
I
yeah,
went from a small Jewish school, middle school, where there were like 22 kids a class. So in
yeah,
like sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, there was probably like 80 kids, 75
wow,
kids. I was a president of the school, like a middle school. I went from there to a public school where every grade had 550 kids. I gotta tell you, man, I didn't talk until my end of junior year.
hmm,
Like literally did not speak in
wow,
class unless it was Spanish class.
yeah,
And when I tell friends that I meet now or something, they're like, what were you like in high school? I was like, well, you would not have seen me. I was invisible.
wow,
Now, like, I'm very sociable. Where's that coming from? That comes from like the pain of like seeing your parents who were gods as a child, warring.
yeah,
And you're wondering like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, where's the love? Where's the intimacy? And that like creates I call it like the rupture that
yeah.
creates the rapture. The rapture is like the hunger, the desire to find the thing or whatever that sends you on a journey. And then like in the end, I'm like, shit, I'm spending hours watching people have intimate conversations. And I created like, where does that come from? It comes from the pain of the rupture of not seeing that as a kid.
Wow, ain't
You
that
know,
crazy? Wow.
what comes up for you? Like, if you take that kind of artifice, if you take that architecture, like for you, where does it come
Well, I
from
mean,
you? 'Cause it sounds similar.
the thing that I can draw similarity on is I do this. I do what I do. I meet people with such openness and frequency, because being an only child, I'm always forever looking for a companion, I suppose. I think
Mm,
if we were to really get into it, I think
yeah.
that's part of it. Also, because I care about my friends and my relationships, I want to see them succeed. And so I step into this notion of being a caretaker for them, where I will
Mm,
bridge connections and be that sort of standard bearer when it comes to bridging relationships that otherwise, I believe, very much so, that it would not happen without me, or certainly would be very unlikely to happen. And so, since I have that, if there is any reference to that famous superhero slogan, "With great power comes great responsibility," that way. And I believe that this is the unique role that I have for a city that is always feeling disconnected. It has a lot of pace, it has a lot of diversity, it has a lot of energy, but people, they tend to anyway feel overwhelmed. They tend to feel disconnected. They tend to feel the inertia of not being able to know where to go or what to do. And that I can do this, and I can provide a haven for people to actually connect. I think it's a beautiful thing. And furthermore, that I can even get other communities, to collaborate and be a rising tide lifts all boats situation, is
hmm
even better.
We're not talking to the layman. We're not talking to the average person.
Yeah.
You're talking to DK right now. You're talking to your closest friends, and you're sitting around your living room and you're having a smoke of a joint or a whiskey or something or nothing. But you're like in that intimate space where you're having a real talk in the privacy of the intimacy of your close friends who know you. So you're not going to say the obvious shit that everyone knows, because they know. They're like, that's not, I didn't say anything new. They're going to ask you, when you're in that space, what are you really doing? Like, what are you really doing under that space? It's not just introductions. It's something deep. Like, what do you feel like? Maybe you don't know the answer, which is totally great too. It's like, but if you had to choose, if you had to suspect, what do you feel is the thing that you're able to do that's below the surface, beyond the obvious thing that's on the surface happening?
I really believe that the work that I do has a real healing quality to it. I really do feel that the way in which I go about things is something that is deeply needed in the world. And this is not something that I tell anybody, because of course when I go with my day to day, I'm just like, oh, you guys should meet this, or I each other, or I do an event and I'm like busy doing it. I'll never tell that to them. But I really do feel, in my utopia, which is why New York City is why I chose it to be my home,
Hmm.
is a world that is diverse, interconnected, and infinitely curious about each other. And so, any way I can do anything to advance that and preserve that idea is really my North Star. And I really feel that for me in this lifetime, there is no greater calling. New York City for me will, if I can help it, if I can afford it, will be my forever home. And I have always been told, and I believe it, any place you decide to make your home, you want to use your skills and you want to use your abilities to better it. And that's what I seek to do with all of these, I guess, these skills that I have acquired over the years.
But why is there no greater calling? You said there's no greater like why? Why is there no greater calling for you?
I don't feel any higher than when I am in my zone doing what I do that way. There is no other moment in my life that I can think delivers as much feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction than in that moment. And when you see other people light up and when you see that there's a real moment where they are genuinely grateful that you're able to sort of offer them a little brightness in this world. I can't quite describe it other than to say there is nothing in the world that's quite like that feeling for me. I'm addicted to it.
Man, I believe I understand what you're saying. I get so high off of it that sometimes I'm not dropping into like cathartic conversations because I'm bouncing around I'm bouncing around. And you're like so you're like that shepherd dog that's like keeping the herd together, but you're never in the herd because you're herding the herd.
Yeah.
And so part I think for me like is it's in some senses like a defense mechanism of me really getting vulnerable because I'm the sheep, the herder of the, instead of being, I'm not in it. I'm like arranging the space of it.
Yeah. No, I completely get exactly what you're saying. I'll say the difference with me is
Yeah.
a lot of folks will know me for the events that I do and whatnot, but those that do know me on a deeper level know that I actually make a inordinate amount of time for one-on-one conversations, and I'm deeply reflective both by myself in terms of like where I stand and what my thoughts are, and also with friends. I tend toward asking probing questions, wax poetic and philosophical with many of my friends, and I deliberately try to schedule every week. I try to schedule some one-on-ones to pair with me going out into the world and doing these large scale kind of events.
Have you found that the thing people give the most is the thing they need the most?
Yeah, I believe that because I know it in myself.
So the
Yes,
thing
without a
you're,
doubt.
so then like the thing that suggests is like the thing you're giving people is this experience of connection suggests that maybe that's what you need the most. That's helpful. You schedule one-on-one time. You like
Oh yeah.
make sure it's there.
Yeah, I mean, at the top of the year, January, there's a very common practice I do where for like several weeks straight, all I have are one-on-ones. I do no like group events or no group meetings. It's become like a tradition that I do every year just to sort of anchor against that. And then right before that, I keep very light touch kind of connections with folks because I don't know if you know, but I have a practice that has gone 25 years since college, but I write about 1,000 holiday cards every year to just keep in touch with people. And every single day I have a meditative practice, and I deliberately choose those words, meditative practice, to wish happy birthday to anywhere between 30 to upwards to 50 people every single day, because I just know everybody's birthday, and I think it would be a really nice thing on somebody's most important day to just offer a nicety, a nice comment, give them a little jump on their step and feel a little good and that they're not so alone. Everybody wants to matter in this world. So,
You're telling me that every day you're sending 30 to 50 messages, custom made messages for 30 to 50 people who are having their birthday.
yeah, not custom messages. I will write the intention for the year, and that's the message that I know will apply to basically all my friends, and then I will customize it to friends that I'm closer to, or if
Yeah.
there's a specific thing that I'm driving. But the general form is one message that I think will go for the year, and then next year I write a brand new message.
Do you have a day that does not have anyone's birthday on it?
Not one.
See, that's my goal, is just to have one person per day.
Yeah.
You've already got 30 to 50 per day for every day of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
My friends think I'm a little crazy, but I just think that it's for me. I literally feel my breathing slow down. I feel like a sense of calm. I feel like a smile creeping on my mouth, on the sides of the mouth.
do you want a family in your journey?
Um, I'm open to the idea of a family. I'm not so hard driven towards a life partner and family as some other people would in the classic
Yeah.
sense. I think I would very much like a life partner, but for somebody to match sort of where I am on this, it's going to take a pretty unique person. I'm not saying that they're not out there, but I haven't found anybody. And
Mhm.
I always joke that I'm in a healthy relationship with 20,000 people. So,
Well, I mean, look, when I was living in New York, it was very clear to me that there are people who marry the city.
yes,
You know,
I married the city.
and New York is the partner, and
Yes.
and who's in and out of it, career, intimacy, and what is the thing that changes. But the New York is a partner. It's the thing that's feeding you all
Yes.
these new experiences.
I have never gotten tired of it. I guess I'll let you know if I do, but for now, it's a thrill. Like, I mean, I can't wait to see who I'm going to meet next. I can't wait for the stories that are coming. I can't wait for what adventures come as a result of this collaboration or that, thing.
So then let's go to this August, when you had the
Yeah.
pancreatitis. Like, let's talk about that then. Like, what did that mean to you? Like, what was a lesson in that, and what was the experience in that, and how has that, if at all, changed you or changed your
It
perspective?
definitely changed me because it had to be a change. It had to be a hard reset. I had to make some very drastic changes right away if I wanted to even live. This is no ifs, ands, or buts. Right now, something like that happens. It's just do or die. I mean, quite literally. So I had to change a lot of things. I went to 3 to 4 events a day, sometimes 5 events a day. I'm now down to about 1 to 2, which is still crazy for most people, but
Yeah.
for me, it's a dramatic shift downwards. My eating has improved dramatically. I have those meal prep pre-prepared meals that are really healthy that get delivered
Mm,
to you.
hmm.
So I would say 60 to 70% of my diet's that. So I don't eat out as much. And when I'm eating out, I make sure that I'm making much better choices. No limited fried food, definitely no sweets, and very limited carbs. So all of that is good. I stopped consuming alcohol completely.
Hmm.
I did not realize this, but because I'm so active socially, and when you go to these things, there is a very common thread, which is, hey, thank you so much for coming out, man. You don't know how much it means to me. Here, let me buy you a drink. And that drink
Hmm.
turns into one per, even if it's one per, many times it was more than that. The legal definition of alcoholism from a scientific standpoint, from what I understand, is more than 2 drinks a day across a week. So 14 drinks. I was easily pulling well into the 20s, easy, every
Right.
single day.
Sure.
And I wasn't getting any sleep. So now I'm not pulling all nighters. I try to get to sleep right around 10 o'clock. At latest I'll do is midnight. I won't try to extend beyond that, and I'm trying to implement a exercise routine. But really, the diet has changed dramatically, as well as the sleep schedule, and exercise will
Well,
come.
if you're up for it,
Yeah,
go with me to the moment at night
yeah,
when the doctors are gone. There are night routines. So the doctors are gone. The main nurse is gone. Now you have night nurse on. I'm not sure if you were medicated, like with anesthesia or morphine or something, but you're in bed. You're tired. You got the IV in you. You got the beep. You got the machine. It's the first night.
yeah,
It's in the wolving. It's at that time when you're like, just you.
yeah.
What's the conversation in your head that night?
It was very
What was it
much
like?
how did I get to this point? Like, I really thought that I was managing everything okay. Yeah, sure, I was out of shape a bit, and sure, I wasn't eating well and sleeping well, but I mean, how did it get to here? And it felt very lonely, and it was also accentuated with the moments of pain that I felt, because ICU is intensive care unit, right? I don't know if it's just my naivete, but I was like, oh, they're going to intensely care for me. And they do. But intensive care unit means a whole other thing. It's the intensity of the care. And I highly don't recommend it for anyone. I mean, it was painful, man. It was a very awful time. It was a time where I just you feel so isolated. You feel so alone, and nobody can help you. You just got to get through this thing and then hopefully make better choices.
Sometimes when I'm in situations like that, I make a deal, or I think people do. They make a deal with like God or the universe or whatever. They're like, all right, listen, they make deals, You're like, I promise if what did you make a deal? Did you make a deal with whatever the being was, a higher? Did you make a deal?
Well, so I am agnostic, so I don't have a faith. I made a deal with myself.
Yeah.
Which was if I am somehow able to get through this, I just need to take the recovery process very seriously. I can't mess up again. I've gotta really just be serious about it.
When I asked you, what are you really doing? Like, what's really happening? You said healing. Like, people are experiencing some form of healing in those conversations, the spaces. How did you and how have you healed yourself then?
Been a lot more intentional about the relationships that I am really trying to deepen. For the first time this Thanksgiving, I only went to one Thanksgiving. Usually I went to like 4, and I had it regimented. I showed up, I brought the bottle of wine, whatever like that, but I was on a schedule. And this was the first year that I just went to one, and I was happy, and it was great. And I got to be really present instead of just always looking at the clock, not wanting to be behind on the schedule.
But that's a different feeling, right? Physiologically, your body feels different when you're like, well, shit, I can be here all day.
Yep, absolutely.
So how are you feeling, and how are you transitioning to that new, like the Thanksgiving, for instance? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I was appreciating just being in the moment more, not looking at a clock for a change, and just taking in the all the subtle interactions and not so subtle interactions that I would have with the people around the table. I mean, the Thanksgiving this year was with 6 people, and I felt at ease, which was a very interesting feeling to feel in the context of all of this that was going on.
What keeps you up at night?
2 things. One, feet don't fail me now, because I am building something that I feel is going to be what I really will stand on in terms of my brand, in terms of my future. And I'm very nervous about, the growing pains that I need in many ways with DK, my business partner. I rely on him to sort of be the disciplinarian, the accountability partner. I need to be better about this, so I am treating it as a personal growth exercise. And if I can really emerge from this, having utilized discipline, then it's something that's only going to benefit me. And the other thing I just keeps me up at night is just where we're heading as a society. This advancement towards technology, this constant drive towards efficiency, scale, and profit. These type of things, while essential to any kind of situation, have dominated how society is governed, and that is very disconcerting to me. Humans have a very interesting way of blaming other people for other people's problems, for their own problems, rather. We like to say that, oh, it's AI's fault, but who's creating the AI? Please answer me that. And if we all agree that it's humans doing so, then actually we're at a very important juncture right now, where the thing that we need to do is not worrying about scale, is actually getting back to the human relation, the one-on-one, this feeling that this is the case. Because whether you come in as an AI developer or a consumer, AI is going to affect your life, but you're going to make better choices if you felt compassion, if you felt empathy before, if you felt like this world is worth more than just maximizing profits, ROI, and getting as much money as you possibly can, or scale. These type of things, when they take over is just not the real way to be, and I'm gonna dedicate myself toward doing that.
You talk about New York, like part of being New York, your community is like, how do I make my community better? And you have your
1,000%.
superpower skill of making it better, and you're applying it, and you're committed to it. What else are other people doing? You know,
Yeah.
at least with the Skin Deep, with the work we're doing, we're like, the first 12 years for us, I realize, has been practice. Because what social media has done to mental health in the sense of loneliness, but to mental health, in my opinion, is a drop in the ocean of the
Yeah.
tsunami that's coming
Oh,
with
absolutely.
AI, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And so now it's like, I'm like, oh, now we
Yeah.
really need to offer our value. Now we really
Yes.
got to like offer tools and experiences and spaces for people to deepen what it means to be human, to be made human.
You and I both know, like, I mean, if I met you on the street, I can't tell you to do anything. I could tell you could just laugh in my face or respond like, yeah, I don't have to listen to you, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You can't tell people to do anything, but what you can do is you can inspire people. This is why I love the arts, because the arts is the closest thing to human experience elevated that we'll all ever get to. I have a thesis about why artists are the closest representations to superheroes that we have, because they are able to take the thing that we all really understand at a very fundamental level. But for us laymen, we will never get beyond those feelings, except come along a person of a unique ability to synthesize this information and elevate it to a concept that, oh my God, I can understand myself better. And that is so, so powerful. And it is that precise thing, that elevation, that makes them so endeared to us. That's why the arts are essential. If you ever heard Ethan Hawke's talk about why arts matter, his TED Talk on YouTube, it's incredible, and I urge you to take a listen to it. But it really is this connection that we need to continue to promote, and we need to continue to nurture, and to make sure that people are all around us are forever curious and not coming in from this scarcity mindset where like I don't really know about you and I don't really want to spend the effort to get to know you better. Like, I appreciate any communities and any community builders that do it in their own way. And by the way, we're not going to be the ones to solve it by ourselves. It has to be many communities that share similar values but do things just their own special way, that we can create the larger ripple effect that will enact the change that we really wish to see.
Beautiful. Sugary, what's your superhero skill? Because you're definitely a superhero. I mean,
I think my superhero skill ends up being my ability to feel people and to connect with them on an authentic level. And I am tireless with it on top of it.
well, you're definitely tireless of it. For sure. But what to break that down for me, like bring me into the inside of your eyes, and your emotional presence. Like, what are the feelings you're going through as you are connecting with a new person? Guide me through that feeling.
For me, the first feeling that I get is what the vibe is. I'm very good at perceiving vibe. And depending on the vibe, I know how to approach it. Do I approach it sort of more formally, or am I more casual about it? And I'm always gleaning additional information. I'm a very curious listener. My feeling on this, but also has been reaffirmed by other people that, when they reflect on how they met me and what this was about, they were just like, yeah, man, you just felt like somebody that was really down to connect for real. Like, it didn't feel like you had an agenda. And I really love the fact that you listened and you remember some of these details. And even after all this time, you still remember, you still care. My feeling of a situation is really just reading the not the room, but reading the person in real time and knowing instinctually what is the best approach. And then throughout all of my years of doing this, a certain skill set, I suppose, of different tools to help facilitate that along.
Like, give me an example of a tool. What are you talking about? What?
I have a hard and fast rule where if you make contact, like eye contact with a person in a social situation, you literally have that fast a time to go in before it's awkward. So I've trained myself over the years to override any hesitation that I have. And the moment eye contact's made, I just go right up to them and like, hey, how's it going? What's up? And then I'll take a note of the environment around them. Are they wearing something or doing something that I think is worth complimenting? Uh, is there something that I notice about the person that seems very interesting? And as they're giving me more information, I am really synthesizing. And that's very disarming to a lot of people.
Where did this skill come from?
I think
What happened to you that made this happen?
well, so I mean, as a kid, as you know, I go by Sugary, which is my name in reverse order, right? As a kid, I grew up in white suburbia, and I was bullied a lot. And kids, I always say, are simultaneously the smartest and dumbest people around. Smart in how quick they pick things up, dumb in terms of what they choose to do with that information. So
Nice.
very quickly in roll call, they saw Sue, Gary, and they put together Sugary. But then the next thing that they decided to do with that information is he must have candy. We need to shake him down. And so I was the yard was not the playground and the yard was not a particularly pleasant place. But I was always friendly. I was always gregarious. And then over time, when I started making friends, I also saw that as a defense mechanism. I could make larger friends that would shield me from these people. I would always get invited to the back of the bus, the school bus. And people would, my oppressors, if you will, would always scratch their head. How did he get invited to the back of the bus? Like, this is just ridiculous. Like, I'm not even in the back of the bus because this was supposedly where the cool kids were. But I wasn't trying to be outright cool. I just sort of was able to get past a lot of these early defenses that some people would have or hesitations or apprehensions and just get right to the heart of connecting on a very honest level. And whatever it is I'm doing, it always came across more authentic than not.
When was the first moment you realized you had that skill? Do you remember
in elementary school, really. I just started making friends at a very rapid rate. At some point, I was friends with the entire class, and the kids were still struggling to remember who was in their entire class. And I already knew everybody. I knew the roll call. I knew where they stood. I mean, at lunchtime, I was always sort of like in a good great zone because I was always like sitting and jumping between like different folks. Later in life, during high school, IBM, which had a hold on Poughkeepsie, had a country club, and that's where summer camp was. And so when I was in summer camp, I found that it was particularly great for me to make friends with not only all the summer camp attendees, but I made friends with all the staff, which also inured a whole bunch of perks to it. I would always get extra lunch. There was always a basketball available to me. There was always, free candy bars from the vending machines. I could always parlay that into additional benefits that I could, give to my friends. And it made me popular, and I enjoyed that. And it was like a good way for me to just continue building. Along the way, I just realized that this curiosity was also rooted in just an honest care for the person. I wanted to know them. I wanted them to be their friends. And so like if I look at it, there's an element of me that's maybe like, okay, well, am I doing this just because I don't want to be alone? And that is absolutely true. Yeah. But these things are not mutually exclusive. They all happen at the same time. So like there's that. But then there's also me just being naturally predispositioned to be friendly and to be able to catch the subtle little vibes that people give off and utilize that towards bridging an actual connection.
Were you the only Asian kid often? Were you definitely? Yeah. So you just you were a minority. You were like the only one.
Yeah.
But that's where that skill came from. It was like a survival mode of getting in the back of the bus. I mean, one thing I want to teach my kids is how to code switch. Like knowing kind of when you say I see the details, this is like finding interest, but seeing, okay, I'm in with this community. I'm gonna communicate in a way that endears me to this community. I move to another community. What's their code language, their culture, so that I endear myself into them and become part of that. Not and code switching, I think, is super important, not as a manipulative tool, but as a tool of creating more empathy, creating more connection, creating more you know,
You need to meet people where they're at. And
aha,
so that
there you
becomes
go.
really, really important. And for people to feel that, it also means that they are seen. The thing that is
Mm,
most important to all humans, I don't care who you are, is you want to know that your life matters. How do you show that your life matters? It's acknowledgement on your birthday. It's showing up for things. It's like, making announcements and having people recognize those announcements. We want to know the life that we lived one way or another is affirmed by the folks around us and the people around us and the circumstances around us. And so I've always kept that in very clear front of mind when I meet anybody. And so I always work to make sure that people feel very seen right
yeah.
away.
Let's take like devil's advocate approach to this. So
Yeah.
let's push back a little bit, just see how you make the distinction, or what distinction you make, I should say, because I
Yeah.
think they're important. But like some people listen might be like, well, that's the ultimate politician. Like politician could just chameleon way. Topaz talking about code switching. That's just a manipulative tool. Like you could just chameleon in, get what you want, be a politician. Where is for you the spine of who you are that will not change regardless of who you meet, so that you know you're not losing yourself? Like what's your anchor, and how do you know when you're always connected to it, and how do you know that you're not like
Oh, yeah. I,
losing
I can
yourself?
absolutely. Yeah, I can
Great.
tell you. For me, the anchor that I know is that when I connect with people, I do so honestly and without agenda.
I do find that in urban centers,
Yes.
it is much more transactional exchanges than it
Hmm.
is that.
You may not hear from me like ever, other than wishing you well on your birthday and like inviting you out to an event because I think it's amazing and I want you to experience it, or introducing you to some folks. And if you ask me, of course, I'll help. You have an event, I'll come and support. So,
So let me ask you this question then.
yeah.
What is, and you don't have to answer it, but I'm
Yeah.
wondering, then what is the relationship that needs the most work for you? There's like, you can't be perfect. It can't be that you're perfect with everyone. There's probably like, who's your enemy? I don't know, enemy's the right word, but like,
Yeah. I've got the perfect answer for you.
ah,
The relationship I need to work on most is with myself.
mm,
I have engaged in what I think is aptly termed as self-abandonment.
ah,
In service to everything that I've done in the name of community and building my brand, I sacrificed my body. I always put myself last. There are huge swaths of stories involving me regarding imposter syndrome and like people pleasing and things of this nature. So I have a very bad relationship with myself. I think I that's rooted in lack of confidence, which is somewhat the product of how I was raised, but also just not feeling that I've arrived at a certain point in my career, whereas my peers have. These are all things that gnaw at me, and I
mm,
think I've started therapy to
mm-hmm.
try to address this thing. I never thought I would need it, but I figure might as well, especially since I'm going through all these changes, might as well try something else that I've never tried before. So yeah,
Wow.
I mean, the worst relationship I have is with myself. That is full stop. I have a really, really bad relationship with myself. Notions of self-worth, understanding that these are all highly, highly present in my day to day.
Oh man, thank you so for sharing that. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Did not expect that, but that was yeah, and it's ironic because what comes up for me when you say that is like the irony that like, yet externally you're so excellent.
Yeah.
Is that a real psychological term, or
I
self-abandonment? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. While I can't give you the clinical definition of it, I do know that that is actually a term.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense for me, and I don't sit with it particularly well. I don't enjoy the notion that I have done this to myself, but I have done this to
Yeah.
myself. No matter how I want to look at it, this was done by me, and I could have avoided it all, but I did not. I just, if anything, I tripled down, quadrupled down on it.
But it's like also the thing that you're running away from is the thing that's driving you to your greatest offering.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Ain't it funny how life works that way sometimes?
it's exactly how I think. Like, that's why Darth Vader is both the father and the enemy.
Yeah.
It's that's why
Duality.
the thing you want to give most of the thing you need most. I mean, I think it's not that we change that. I think that we recognize it. That's what's come up for me. It's to recognize it and be like, and to sit in that recognition and that feeling, and not necessarily to do anything about it, but just to sit in it and be aware of it, because then things will naturally grow and blossom out of that awareness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what does friendship really mean to you?
I think that there are a few very important aspects to building a solid friendship. I think, yes, of course, there is reciprocity, but there is a deep willingness to be empathetic to one another. And I don't mean sympathetic, I mean empathetic, willing to step in another person's shoes and live some of the experiences or feel some of the lived experiences that the other person has, so that you can gain a greater understanding of each other. And once you have this over time, I think what is rarely said, but I think very important given the context of the world that we live in, is that the best friends make it easy. They don't have too many demands. There is a sort of like, the statement of, I feel like, I haven't seen you in years, but when we meet up, it feels like no time has passed at all. I don't like feel a certain way if I haven't heard from you in forever, or like I don't feel like it's an affront to me that you have a family and that you're raising them and you're just doing the best you can, and you can't necessarily meet me for brunch or whatever like that. It's okay. I see you for who you are, and I remember you for the things that I most appreciate. And we have had this history where we have shared experiences and we have helped each other. We have been there for each other and we feel each other's thing. No matter what, that's going to be good, and we are good. And I want you to know that.
Okay, but there's a pushback there where it's like, no, some true friendships are the ones that actually confront you.
Yeah.
Or tell you the things you don't want to hear.
Sure.
For you, what's a true friend mean to you? What's a litmus test for you to know that they're a true friend? What do they do for you that normal friends don't, or that others don't?
Shared experience, consistent generosity and empathy, and also not too many expectations that would make it a burden or a challenge that would be unreasonable. And I do say unreasonable because, of course, in the act of being friends, there's going to be sacrifice and inconvenience and these type of nature. But you have to be able to take all of that and then put it into your own understanding of how you want to see friends and how you want to experience friendships. And if it comes out as something that is a positive thing, a net positive, then these are the friendships that work for you. By the way, not every friendship will work for every person. The personalities and priorities will differ. Friends will come and go. Some will be here for the beginning part of your life and exit out or come into the latter part. Some will come in spikes, come in hot, leave hot, and then but these varieties are the spice of life. And if you can find ways to appreciate all the various types of friendships, and then you will lead a more fulfilled life. Like I have a friend that I was a best man to for his wedding. We were inseparable prior to him getting married. And then in the perfect stereotype that is perpetuated over and over again, he disappeared the moment he got married. Disappeared, like really. And like he lost touch with all of my all of our close acquaintances and friends. And he just sort of like dove into his family life. But him and I still keep in touch. And when we meet up, it's like no time has passed and we still have a regard. And my friends have asked me, why do you still keep in touch with this person? And I always say, because I remember what we were about and I never forgot that. And when we meet, I still get the vibe that that's still the case. And I know, if I were to be really honest, I knew he was already heading this way. There were always, we live our life in patterns. So he always had a pattern that when he was dating, he would just be less available. So this was going to happen certainly when he was going to get married, and now he's going to have a kid. So like, I knew this was heading there. Could I accept that? And my determination was that, in fact, I could accept it.
Do you have some friends where like what you're about is no longer what you're about now, and therefore that friendship is extinguished?
Not necessarily extinguished, but for me, when I sense that there's a shift that way, I immediately go to the curiosity side of things, and I try to figure out. It's almost like I'm a tinkerer. I take a look at it. I'm like, okay, what's different about this? How can I adjust? Is it adjustable? Is it fixable? And I will preoccupy myself with that, because I do have a regard. Now, not everyone is necessarily going to work out that way, and some people are so different and their priorities are so dramatically dissimilar to yours at a certain point that maybe it doesn't make sense. So I'm not saying by any means to hold on to every single relationship.
It sounds like you're also more accepting.
Very.
And grateful for the things that you have.
Yes.
You've mentioned in our convo here, like when you were in the ICU and you're like, thinking about like not quite getting to what you wanted to get to, and like seeing your friends who some of them had like at that age where like they are getting the thing they wanted, and like you have a clear vision of what it is you're building, and you're excited that you're finally kind of really building this brand with DKs of 3 years ago. What would have to happen for you to know that you've built the thing you've wanted to build? Like, what would have to happen for you to know that you are quote unquote successful, or you got there, or you made it?
When I have a regular content series, be it newsletter, podcast, or social media, or a combination thereof, that people seem to be interacting with on a great rate, so I become I guess, thought leader in the space, that I get testimonials and feedback that only increase in terms of the events that I plan to do, that as I get more ambitious with my events, and I am pretty ambitious with it to get it going. Yeah.
But you're already there. Sugary, you're already there. You got people saying you're on the...
there's more. There's more to come.
You want to be a thought leader who does incredible experiences. Isn't that already happening? You have people who are recognizing you as a thought leader. You have someone who just gave you a check to do an incredible experience. Yeah. So aren't you already there?
I just think that I'm on the journey. I'm on the beginning. I'm on the cusp of it. I think if we were to revisit this conversation a year from now, I could give you a analysis as to how things are going. But for me, this really seems to be the beginning. I've been preparing for all this moment. So
I said, what would have to happen? And you're like listening to me things that are already happening. So maybe something else would have to happen. Maybe you'd have to see
maybe scale, bigger, like more.
So be like on Oprah.
Events.
You'd be on Oprah. You'd have to be on Oprah, and Oprah would be talking about. Oprah would be a community week, basically. If Oprah was a community week, then you'd be big enough, and something like that.
Yeah, or a book deal or something like that, where I'm actually imparting some of this knowledge that people really appreciate. I think these are all moments where I will feel like I have truly achieved something. And then, of course, just a very basic thing, just having it be a sustainable business. How about that? Just as a basic thing where I can afford to do this as my main vocation.
It took me like 2 depressions, 2 downturns, a broken back. It took me about 10 years to get there. I have no doubt you're going to get there before I will. For sure. It's not going to take you 10 years to get there. It took me 10 years to get there. Not even about getting there. It's like, what do you learn in the getting there, and how do you show up with the people who you're on the journey with to get there? Like, do they remember you in a positive light? Because for me, it's like, if you want to change the world, but you're an asshole doing it, what's the point?
Right. Exactly.
So here we have right here the And Self edition, which is one of my favorite editions. And this is how we end all our shows. I want to flick through it. You tell me when to stop, and we're going to pull out a card. You have to read it out loud, but you don't have to answer it if you don't want. Okay?
Okay. Stop. Right there. What is the most important thing to me right now and why? That's the question. I think the most important thing for me right now is to have consistency and have discipline to see through the vision that I want for myself, but also for my community. I'm often told you don't rise to the level of your ambition, you fall to the level of your systems. And I'm very grateful that DK is here to handle operations and systems and keep me in check. And I keep on a silent prayer, if you will. I always say, "Feet don't fail me now." I hope I can maintain this. I hope I can not disappoint. I hope I can really be as effective a person within this space as I imagine that I have the capability to be.
How is this convo for you?
Oh, I love it. I feel leaving this inspired.
Dude, same here. I want to thank you for joining me in this conversation. I hope it had some utility. I hope it offered a reflection of what maybe life is shaping you for, and maybe it offered a missing piece to the puzzle of your life. It was a pleasure for me, and I appreciate your time and attention. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can stay abreast of all the new episodes we have coming out. And until next time, thank you so much. Guts is a Skin Deep media production. The show is produced and edited by Gonzalo Torres Ocampo, with editorial support from Anthony Cabral, and executive produced by me, Topaz Adizes. Special thanks to all the guests who showed guts, without whom there will be no getting under the skin. Interested in joining our community and following this journey? Visit guts.podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and theskindeep.com for in-depth conversation card games that create the space for connection, intimacy, and deeper conversation.